So guys, this is Geeky Abhishek once again. Today I'm gonna take a quick look at some of the Pebble smartwatches. This is the Pebble Time HR and this is the Pebble Round, and I'm gonna quickly draw a comparison between the Fitbit Blaze and the Samsung Galaxy Gear 2 S2. So in 2017, why I am reviewing the Pebble smartwatch. So as many of you might know that Pebble got bought over by Fitbit, and nobody knows for sure how long they will continue. But as far as we know, they will continue the services till the end of 2017. And the reason that all these Pebble smartwatches are available on clearance at deep discounts, and you can pick up a Pebble watch anywhere between $50 to $70. And now, if you really do, I think many of you would have wondered if this is a good buy or not. So that's the reason I kind of doing this video. So I was not very familiar with Pebble. Have always been a Fitbit or a Samsung or a Android Wear guy, and this is the first time since it was very cheap and affordable. I thought of giving it a try, and let me say you that I was very pleasantly surprised. So first things first, both these watches has incredible battery life. I'm talking about 5+ days, and it's not just work days. 5+ days means like 24/7 if I'm wearing them all the time, getting notifications. So incredible battery life. I have never seen any other smartwatch which has this kind of battery life when you wear them 24/7. The other thing is like all the activity tracking, the health features embedded in the watch, they sync with Google Fit. So that's one thing. I mean, Fitbit has their own app, you can do their own stuff, which is pretty good, but quite disappointingly, that doesn't let you sync with your Google Fit or your Apple Health. But Pebble actually has an interface which syncs with both Google Fit and Apple Health, which is pretty awesome, I guess. And the other best thing is the quick charging. The watch gets charged. There are two contact points here. There's a simple USB to this magnetic charging port, and it takes about only 15 to 20 minutes to get a full charge on both on these watches, and you can actually wear them for 5+ days. That's pretty amazing. And then now coming back to the customizations, so I mean they have it's very simple. Like everything about Pebble is very simple. It's very youth looking, like from the interface to everything else. As you can see, they might not have the most prettiest display when it comes to the screen quality and all. I don't know if you can tell the difference between this and the display on a Galaxy Gear S2. But as you can see, I mean, through the camera, it's kind of hard, difficult to notice the difference. But if you were like really watching them, so this is a low resolution display, not as good as a Samsung or a Fitbit Blaze. But whatever it is, this is very practical. And the other cool feature is the interface is they have this timeline view, which is pretty amazing. Tells you the date, the sunrise, sunset, and any other events with a click of a button. And there's a little microphone here on the top of the watch face, and here, as you can see, you can actually respond to your text messages and take some actions on your notifications just by replying to them. The Pebble Round actually comes in two versions, one with a wider band for men, and this is for the women. And they also have different colors, like they have a gold metal frame available as well. But unfortunately, the Pebble Charge HR, not the Charge HR, that's Fitbit. So the Pebble Time HR, it comes in two variations. One is black on black and the other is red on black. So one thing you might have noticed by now is that the screen on the Time HR is actually a black and white screen. So I don't know why they went the black and white way. I mean, They have the Pebble Time, which comes with a color display, but for some reason they thought of the Time 2 with the HR should just have a black and white display. Could be due to the continuous heart rate monitoring that this guy comes with. They wanted to save the battery, and a black and white screen probably uses less battery than a color screen. So I mean, and now coming to the customization, the app part. So there's hundreds of watch faces or maybe thousands of watch faces which are very customizable. The best part of Pebble is overall the from the app to the interface to everything is very simple compared to Fitbit or compared to Samsung. I mean, Fitbit is pretty simple too. Probably this is very similar to Fitbit and a little more customizable than Fitbit. So sometimes I feel like with the Fitbit, oh, I wish I could do this, but you have to be within their ecosystem and they only give you a certain choices of watch faces. There are certain things that it's very the options are very limited versus this Pebble, because Pebble has lots of customizations. So I mean, you get hundreds of options, but it's very simple that way, and you never feel that you're being overburdened. So that's my bad part about the Samsung, is like it's a very overly complicated watch. Sometimes I feel there are hundreds of apps that you need to install and you have to configure it in the right way. Sure, this is very customizable, looks very pleasing to the eyes, very pretty, has lots of options. But two things are very disappointing on this watch. One is that if you have a non-Samsung phone, all the functions don't really work. The other thing is the battery life is horrendous. Like, no matter what they claim the battery life to be, if you have the LTE version, which comes with its own SIM card embedded inside it, you will just get a day, probably like 10 hours of battery life, not even the whole day. So that's pretty disappointing that you have, like, I felt like it's kind of a hassle to charge your watch every day, and you cannot really wear it during the sleep to track your sleep, because if you wear it during the sleep, the watch is gonna die, and next day you don't have a watch to wear to work, and then you have to wait for it to get charged. And so I feel like this is Samsung runs their own flavor of Android, which is Tizen, and even though they made it a lot better than the previous versions with adding a lot of features and support for non-Samsung phones, but yet it's still on its way. I mean, there are a lot of other things that they really need to tweak to actually appeal to people who don't want to use a Samsung phone but still want to use a Samsung smartwatch. The health tracking and okay, the other thing about Samsung is everything is in the Samsung ecosystem. So you have apps, and since this is Tizen, it's not like your Android Wear watch where you can sync to your Google Fit or Google Maps. So Samsung has its own Samsung Fit S Health that you have to use. So everything, all your activity, exercise, all those logs gets logged into the Samsung S Health app. And then anything maps, they have a version of the the Here Maps, and that's about it. You don't have Google Maps on this, and you have Here Maps. And I mean, it is okay, but I mean, I'm just more used to using Google Maps. I think it works really good, and I don't know why would they restrict Google Maps as an app inside that. This has few other apps, and quite honestly, when I go to the App Store and look for apps, there's a lot of useless apps versus like apps that you would really need. Now, coming back to some other positives about these Pebble watches. These watches come with a standard band, and there's an easy swap band, so you can actually take this off and replace them with a regular watch band. Maybe a Fossil creates a lot of, they sell their switchable bands, and I felt like it was pretty easy to put them back together versus the Samsung. They have their own band system, so you have to really buy specialized band. So does even the Fitbit. Even though this Fitbit, it looks like it's easily swappable, at the end of the band there is an edge which is like grooved in a way that's how it fits into this metal frame. So if you want to buy a regular band and try to swap it out, it wouldn't work. Now comparing the Pebble to the Fitbit. So out of all the smartwatches, if you don't really need a lot of smartwatch features which Samsung provides, like Android Pay or Samsung Pay, where you can make a payment using your watch, and you don't really want turn-by-turn navigations on your watch, then and you are more kind of looking for an activity tracker, you're more of a fitness person, you do a lot of workouts and you want to track them, I think Fitbit is pretty balanced in that sense. When it comes to the tracking your fitness, I mean, I have tried a lot of other fitness trackers from Garmin, Nike, Jawbone and all that, but I like Fitbit best because it's very simple, it's very intuitive, and it does everything, well enough for most people. I mean, it's not a pro level thing, it's not the most accurate, but it does everything. It's very seamless, and it's simple. It doesn't give you a whole lot of options, but whatever options that give you, they work. It's slam dunk. Because in the other smartwatches, you will find a lot of apps they have hundreds of apps, but there are a lot of bugs in those apps. Some work, some don't work. So I mean, so good part about the Fitbit is the Blaze also has about 5 days battery life. So once you charge it, depending on the number of notifications that you get, it has a very pretty screen, very legible outside in the sunlight. It's a high resolution. It has like about 8 to 10 watch faces, and anything else that you see in the watch is basically your daily statistics. It does let you, when you are working out, it tells you the current heart rate zone you are in. So that's pretty cool about it. And the heart rate monitor on the Fitbit is pretty accurate. So that's what, when I have compared, I mean, the heart rate monitor on the Pebble is kind of somewhat off. So even is the Samsung. So suppose your heart rate is showing in the treadmill as 135, the Fitbit always tends to overestimate it, and you would probably see it as 145. Not much of a difference. It's other than a pro athlete, I don't think anyone would care about that much of a difference. So does the Samsung. It would show if the treadmill shows 135, this is probably going to show you 150, 145, something like that. So it kind of tends to overestimate. But with Fitbit, every time I have checked, most of the time, 90% of the time, they actually match. So whatever reading I'm getting on the Fitbit, it's exactly the same I'm getting on my the exercising equipment. So that's one positive about the Fitbit. Now, last but not the least, about this Pebble smartwatches, these work equally well whether you have an Android or you have an iPhone. So this is the only smartwatch, the app is very stable for both the phones. I mean, both the ecosystems, whether it is Apple or Android, and it just works. And let me show you a couple of things here. It has few different watch faces. You can look at other YouTube videos to see what all the options are, but I just want to run you through the different things that you can have here. So you have Bluetooth, notifications, vibrations, quiet time. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention, this has something called a smart alarm. So what it does is, with this activity tracker, it monitors your sleep, and it also monitors your sleep cycle. So what happens is, if you set an alarm, what it does is it wakes you on your light sleep cycle, so you don't feel as bad. So it always wakes you up ahead of time. So suppose you set an alarm for 6:30 a.m. in the morning, what it would do is it would wake you up to 30 minutes before your alarm, and it would wake you up when you're sleeping light, and that is incredible. I mean, some days you feel like you couldn't get enough sleep and you feel like lethargic throughout the workday and stuff like that. But if you use this smart alarm, it's pretty amazing. You would probably get up at the same time, 10 minutes earlier, and you feel like, oh, I feel so fresh and I don't feel tired at all. And good thing is that this is a vibration alarm. So basically your hand vibrates and you wake up, so you don't disturb your partner who's sleeping with you too, and or other family members. And these are the pretty simple things. This is what the Charge HR has. You get notifications. So in terms of notifications, almost every app almost every app on your phone can send a notification. For some apps, you can take an action on it, like responding to a text, responding to a call, or accepting or rejecting a call and sending them a message instead. For most apps, for every regular app like text, calls, WhatsApp, you can reply using your voice. But for other apps, you can just see the notification. When it comes to Fitbit, there's nothing that you can only see the notifications and just dismiss them. That's the only thing that you can do. There's nothing actionable on the notifications other than to look at them and cancel them. And the notifications are pretty good. It's not a summary of the notification. You can actually read the entire notification if you wanted. On the Fitbit, it scrolls up and down. And on Pebble, it depends on the app. Some apps shows you the entire notification. Some will only show you a gist of it, and then you have to go to your phone to read the entire thing. Samsung does the same thing. Some of the things like calls, text, you can just respond and reply from the watch itself. There's an input mode in the Samsung, so there's a T9 keyboard that pops up, and you could, if you wanted to, you could actually touch the screen and kind of type something in without using your voice response for the Samsung. But for Pebble, it's only voice. There's no keyboard that you can use. It's not a touch screen. So that's what I had missed. So both the Fitbit and the Samsung Galaxy Gear S2, they're kind of touch screen, and then you have those buttons. But Pebble is not a touch screen, so everything is through the buttons, which can be a good thing or can be a bad thing. I mean, it depends on your preference. I didn't mind when I was using these watches. Initially, I thought, hey, it's cheap, that's why it doesn't have a touch screen. But as I started using them, I kind of got used to it, and it didn't matter because they have a bunch of buttons, like at least 4 buttons, and you can configure the buttons to do whatever you want, and assign shortcuts and stuff like that. And I pretty liked it. So my utility is very less from a smartwatch. So basically, I want to read the notifications, and when I work out, I want to log all my workouts and sleep, and the smart alarm for sure. So now when I look at all 4 of them, all these options are very expensive. The Fitbit Blaze, sells for about $200. You can probably, I haven't seen a refurbished Fitbit. I think I have seen them as low as $149 during Black Friday and some other offers at Target and other places. The Samsung Galaxy Gear S2, unless you got it from a carrier as an add-on, I mean, it's pretty expensive. It's $299, and I think you might be able to buy the Wi-Fi only version for like $199, but that doesn't have a built-in GPS and a speakerphone. So this lets you take a call. So if a phone comes, it gets redirected to your watch, and you can answer, and you can talk through the watch, which you cannot do either from the Pebble or the Fitbit. But for that, you need the LTE version of this watch. So all of these watches, even if it's tied to a carrier like a Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, remember that you don't really need to activate the embedded SIM card inside it. You can use the watch as a standalone watch, and you can still get the calls and answers because that connects it through the Bluetooth. And the only advantage of having this watch, the LTE version, is that it will have a built-in GPS. So when you do go out for running or biking, it would have a more accurate statistics of your running or biking. But it do come at a little bit disadvantage that the watch is a little bit thicker compared to the Wi-Fi only version, and the battery life is a little bit shorter than the Wi-Fi version. But these about $200, this about $300, this is about $50 to $70. So is it worth it? Absolutely. I mean, this is the best time to get these watches. I don't care if I'm spending like $40 or $50 on a couple of smart watches, and it lasts a year. I think I got my money value out of it. I mean, it does everything. It gives you notification. It lets you reply. Has incredible battery life. Has super quick charging. The bands are customizable. It's very easy to use. Lots of watch faces to choose from, syncs with Google Fit or Apple Health, and it has smart alarm. So I mean, what else? I mean, it could be completely feature loaded. There is no one product in the market right now which does everything. I know, Android Wear is good in some aspects. Fitbit is good in some aspects. Tizen is good in some aspects. But the only thing is, every time I use these versus this Pebble, I felt like, oh, I paid so much, but I still don't have the things that I would really want. I don't have everything that I would have wanted from a smartwatch to do. But for this, 50 to 70 bucks, you have 80% or 90% of everything that any person would want from a watch. So I think that's all. I hope that you found this video informational and probably helpful. So if you do see these Pebble watches lying in the clearance aisle of a store, do pick them up if they're at a good price, and you wouldn't regret it. So that's all from me now. Leave your comments, feedback, suggestions, and I'll see you with more reviews to come. Bye bye.